All right, Uma Fight Camp. This lecture is going to be, or this talk is going to be somewhat in the line of combatives, but since it's more informational, I'm going to post it here on Uma Fight Camp, on the Uma Fight Camp channel, as opposed to Brick City Combatives. Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do here is I want to explain what people like myself, GEOFF Thompson, the late Gary Spires, Terry O'Neill. I'm not saying I'm GEOFF Thompson, but I'm just saying that I come from that lineage, okay? And by that, what I mean is that I'll explain a little more on the Brick City Combatives channel as to what my lineage is and the two major lineages of, or the two major lineages that I speak on, right? When it comes to combatives, all right? One is the Fairbairn, Sykes, O'Neill, the military World War II combatives, right? And you have most of the, there are some very well-known people who claim to come from that particular, and rightfully so. If you look at their background, they come from that line. The line that I come from is one that comes from traditional martial arts done in its purest form, okay? And then taking those things and using those as our base, or as my base, all right? Adding other things, because no art is perfect or complete, but using that as my base. What I want to do here is give some advice, and also talk about what is meant when a person like myself, and as I said, GEOFF Thompson, Terry O'Neill, say that karate is their base. When people like me say that karate is my base, what I am talking about is an approach to karate, an approach to combatives rather, all right, a karate approach. Now, what I'm talking about is karate that was probably in the West, probably ended around the 70s, where, you know, now there are still some schools probably that teach it in its most pure form, or in a purer form, where it's not a lot of pads and not a lot of jumping around. But that era where you could go into a martial arts school or a karate school and you would pretty much know that it would be bare knuckle, contact to the body, maybe light contact to the face, almost no pads whatsoever, on the hands or on the feet. That particular era ended around the 70s, okay, around the late 70s. Now, that is what I'm talking about. When I say karate is my base, I mean it is my approach. So by that approach, what I'm saying to you is this. The idea of setting up a technique, okay, is something that is not very prone to karate. Karate philosophy, or the philosophy of karate, is based on Ichigeki Hizatsu, right? A term, Ichigeki Hizatsu, right? And that particular term, for in layman's terms, it's been translated as suicide technique. But what it actually means is giving your all with full conviction, whatever technique you're doing, without any concern of what is coming back. So you throw a punch or you throw a kick without any concern as to what the person in front of you is going to do in response. All right? You were totally bent on destruction. That is a pure traditional karate approach. So if you look at combatives today, no matter what people are doing, if they're going, ush, 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 that is a karate approach. They can call it something else, but it is a karate approach. Why? Because look at how pure karate is practiced. And then look at how other martial arts are practiced, and you will practice, and you will see that that is a karate approach. So if we look at boxing, I love boxing. Boxing was my first martial art. I see it as a martial art. But when you look at boxing, there is this idea that this is a punch too. And also, this is a punch, and this is a punch. But this is also a punch. In karate, is no such thing. So when you look at boxing, and you see that a person is being, the score is being tallied up, and the critique of the fight is going on, you will hear someone say, he threw this many power punches, right? As compared to this guy throwing power punches. This guy threw this many power punches and landed with this many jabs. Well, what they're saying is that a jab is not a power punch. Now, in karate, in the truest form, the front hand may not be as powerful as the rear hand, but it is certainly a powerful punch. Why? Because you're using certain dynamics to make sure that it is a powerful punch. So to say that a person uses power punches in karate is like saying cold ice. Okay? It's using the term cold ice, or the terms cold ice. It doesn't make sense from a karate standpoint or a karate approach. Why? Because the definition is in the term itself. It's in the term itself. So when a person like, again, myself, GEOFF Thompson, the late Gary Spires, Terry O'Neill, Stephen French, when people like them and me say karate is our base, what we mean is, yes, we may take some Greco-Roman, we may take even some boxing. But the thing is that our approach, as we apply our approach of karate to those things, meaning if we go for a takedown, there is no doubt as to whether or not we're going to take you down. We're entering into that takedown, and the result of it is it's very hard to sprawl. It would be very hard to sprawl on me or one of my students if we went for a takedown. Why? Because there is no second guessing the shot. Because why? It's a karate approach. It's a karate approach. If we throw a punch, the punch is designed, even a jab in boxing, for me, is designed to hurt the individual. It is not a setup punch. It is designed to hurt the individual. It's not a poing type of technique. This is not a punch. This may be a setup, but it's not a punch. It may look like a punch because of the execution, the trajectory of the arm, or even maybe the fist might be clenched. But unless it is designed to hurt the individual, it's not a punch. It is a decoy, it is a setup, it is a preempt to a punch, but it is not a punch. So what we are talking about, people like myself, is looking at a karate approach. If you look at combatives, the way combatives is done today, it is basically a karate approach. It is not an approach of any other martial art. It's not that approach because you're not seeing a lot of setups in combatives. You're not seeing somebody go like this in combatives. You're seeing somebody cover, elbow, headbutt, punch, palm, smack. That's what you see. That is a karate approach. You may like it, you may not like it, but frankly, I don't care. It is a karate approach. Now, you have not learned, if people have not learned karate in its purest form, then that is their issue. But it's a karate approach, and when a person like me says karate is my base, that's what I'm talking about. Now, I want to talk about when you look at karate in its purest form, and then when you look at combatives. There are people who will look at people teaching combatives, and they are beside themselves. To them, that is a very tough way of training. For me personally, when I look at it, it is a good way of training. But it's a relatively safe way of training that you need. But there's nothing about me teaching combatives or watching other people do combatives, and I consider me to be a combative teacher. But when I put on pads, on my students, they are usually surprised that I don't wear usually the pads that they wear. I don't usually wear the helmets that they wear. Even when I'm taking shots to the head, or shots are coming to my head, I generally do not. Now why? It's not because I'm trying to be macho, it's because of my training. There are people who don't know what it is to train in real karate, but there are ways to find out. The 9 martial arts I've trained in, from wrestling to boxing, to Kali, to Wing Chun, to Judo, the hardest training that I've ever done in my life was karate. Hands down. The hardest training I've ever done in my life was karate. In the 70s, and then in the early 90s, when I started training in Kyokushin Kai karate, right? founded by Master Oyama. But if you take any Master Oyama inspired karate style, whether it is Kyokushin or Oyama karate or it's Enshin or Ashihara, if you take any of those styles and you train in them, you will never say karate is garbage. You will never say karate is garbage. And particularly if you ask to spar black belt in a black belt manner. If you spar in the black belt manner in Kyokushin, Oyama karate, Ashihara, or Enshin karate, if you do that, you will never listen to anyone say that karate is garbage. And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why it was so difficult for me and why I credit my training in Kyokushin for a lot of what I am today and a lot of how I see fighting today. It is bare knuckle. It is bare knuckle. That's what it is. The sparring is bare knuckle. Okay? Bare knuckle. You have nothing on your feet. You have nothing on your hands. Now, is it to the body? Absolutely, it's to the body. There are no punches to the head in those particular styles in competition. There's no punches to the head with the bare knuckle. No, absolutely not. You can kick to the head and you can knee to the head. There are no elbows to the head either. There's just bare knuckle when it comes down to punching, only bare knuckle, but to the body. Now I've heard people say, oh, well, but it's just to the body. Okay, you do it. Do it. This is the difference between me. And I know a lot of people aren't hearing it, but it's the truth. You can tell anyone on YouTube that I said this. The biggest difference between Safe Carmen, right, and a lot of other people is I absolutely know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm talking about. And people in those styles will tell you, yes, he knows what he's talking about. If fighting bare knuckle to the body is easy, then you should go ahead and you should do it. Not one time, not as a child, saying you have done it. You can walk into any of those dojos and ask to spar with one of those black belts. Bare knuckle to the body, 3-4 rounds. You can ask to do that. Because there is no system of body punching that is superior to Oyama-based karate. Not even boxing. Not even boxing has superior body punches to Oyama-based karate. Whether it is Enshin, Kyokushin, Ashihara, or Oyama. None. Just the execution. Just to give an example. Just a body punch using what we call a seiken. Right? Using a vertical seiken. Just a body punch. Now, if you look in boxing, a body punch might be this. A body jab with the lead hand may be this. Right? In Kyokushin, you're turning your hand often in a formation, in a vertical formation. Punching with your first 2 knuckles. And your motion is not just this. Your motion is to drop and shift forward. This. From the side. If I'm here, this is a Kyokushin body punch. Those are the kind of shots that you get hit with bare knuckle. If you think it's easy, go and put on a black belt. Anyone can do it. Any combative teacher, any martial arts teacher, any Jeet Kune Do teacher, any Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu teacher, you can put on a black belt. You can go and sign up for Kyokushin, Ashihara, or Oyama, or Enshin karate tournament, right? Fight in a black belt division. Fight in a black belt division, right? Where you will have to defend full contact leg kicks, full contact punches to the body. Trust me, just in the training itself, in 2 years, myself, 2 broken ribs, a fractured foot, a broken nose from getting hit by mistake, numerous lacerations on my hands. And these are injuries that you generally get as a black belt training in Kyokushin that almost everybody's gotten. And I've inflicted those same injuries on people in the name of training. Not any animosity whatsoever. Just in the name of training. And this is how I know Russians and how Russians, many of them think. Not all, but many of them think. Why? Because most of my training partners were Japanese and Russian. There simply weren't that many black people in those styles. There are some, but most of them that I trained with were Japanese and Russian. So if you look at Kyokushin style karate, if you look at that style, there is nothing harder to get through than black belt training in those particular styles. So when I look and I see combatives, it's, oh, okay, equipment. You're using equipment. Good. I use equipment. Good. But there is no training that is more difficult than karate. Or pure karate's pure form. So when I say it's my base, what I mean is my base is I teach people, I teach my students to not attempt to set up techniques, to not move around and say I want to, with the idea of outpointing an individual, but to defend yourself, to preempt, if you have to throw a preemptive punch or a preemptive kick, below the waist of course, if you have to do those things, you do them with full power and full conviction. If you want to see what karate is, Elwin Hall. Look up Elwin Hall. And I've posted things on Elwin Hall. E-L-W-Y-N, I believe it is, right? E-L-W-Y-N, Hall, H-A-L-L. Look up Elwin Hall and look at his Shotokan. If you want to see a beast, look up Elwin Hall. If you want to see another beast, Elwin Hall is black. You want to see another beast who happens to be from Australia, white, right? Look up Judd Reed, J-U-D-D-R-E-I-D, a former string bean of a young boy. Went to train with Masoyama, right? At 48 years old, right now today, is one of the toughest people I've ever seen in my life. Look up Judd Reed now, right? All but 5'9", almost 200 pounds, a clear beast, right? And you get back, you come into this forum and you tell me if those two guys look like a combative teacher could just go ahead and just wipe them out. You look at those two guys, right? The fact of the matter is that karate is my base and Geoff Thompson's base and Terry O'Neill's base and was people like Gary Spire's base and Stephen French's base. And a lot of people don't like me mention Stephen French probably because he's a gangster, but his base is karate and therefore I'm looking at that, okay? But the fact of the matter is karate holds something for us, and that is the approach. It is the approach. Again, if you want to try your hand at karate, if you want to try your hand at something that today is close to traditional, you can go into any dojo that teaches Ashihara or Oyama karate or Kyokushin or Enshin and ask to spar with the black belts. Okay? Bare knuckle. Because colored belts, and I do want to warn you, there are people who say they train in Kyokushin, but if they have not trained in black belt style training, then the fact of the matter is they wore pads. See, there's a difference. Underbelts wear pads in competition. Underbelts also wear pads in sparring. When a black belt Kyokushin, or a black belt Oyama, or a black belt Enshin or Ashihara, if they are training for a match, they train bare knuckle, hard, bare knuckle, all out. Okay? If they are just sparring and they don't have a fight coming up, then they may put on MMA gloves. Most of them do elect, though, to continue to even spar bare knuckle, even when they don't have a fight coming up. So there is a difference. Whenever you hear someone say they trained in Ashihara, or they trained in Enshin, or trained in Oyama, or trained in Kyokushin, and they are combative teachers, or whatever they're talking about that, then if they have not trained against black belts bare knuckle, then they've trained with pads. It's a totally different thing. All right? If you want to see beasts, look up Elwin Hall, Shotokan stylist. E-L-W-Y-N-H-A-L-L. If you want to look up a Kyokushin fighter, right now, the man is almost 50 years old. Look up Judd Reed, J-U-D-D-R-E-I-D. Then get back in touch with me. Why didn't I post videos? Because most of the graphics that my family member does is going to be or posting videos on those two guys. It's because most of the graphics that are being done by my family member, team member, of Brick City Combative / Umo Fight Camp, does them for the Brick City Combative channel. All right. By the way, if you want to get some tutorials and things like that, lectures on combatives, Brick City Combatives channel, go ahead and subscribe to it. If you don't, hey, you know, I don't sit around, hey guys, please. No. If you don't, it's on you. I still get my work done. Okay? But you go and look up Elwin Hall, go look up Judd Reed, and you will see, guys, if you're fair, you will see some guys, right, that you know, if you ran into them with their karate in an alleyway, you wouldn't have an easy time with them. Okay? So, when I say karate is my base, what I mean is the approach. It's the same exact thing that Geoff Thompson meant, same exact thing that Terry O'Neill meant, same thing that Gary Spires meant, and Stephen French, and so many, Robin Barrett, and so many other people who trained in karate and used that to build upon whatever self-defense or combative system they're teaching. All right? Umo Fight Camp, save Carmen. Train hard, train smart. See you next video.